Hey guys, this is Nick Murray. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for checking out the video. Please subscribe if you like my videos. And don't forget to reach out to me on Facebook at Nick Murray Music and Twitter at Nick Murr. So today I'm going to go through a full walkthrough of the new Logic Pro X here. We've been waiting for this for years now and it's finally here. So before you spend the 200 bucks, make sure to watch this video. You can check out all the new features as well as the existing ones and see how it all plays out. So let's jump right in. Okay, so we've got Logic Pro X here pulled up, and this is going to be our in-depth walkthrough. So again, if you don't want to sit through a long tutorial or screen capture of this, I have done a quick look as well. So check my YouTube channel for a quick look, and that's about 10 minutes long. And it'll quickly show you the new features in Logic and the basic overall look. Okay, so this will be our in-depth look at Logic Pro X. So when you open up Logic and you create a new session, it comes up with this little dialog here. I'm just going to go ahead and click Software Instrument to bring up a software instrument track. We'll go over Audio, Drummer, and I don't think I'm going to go over external MIDI or guitar or bass tracks on this tutorial. Okay, so first Software Instrument. Let's go ahead and create the track. So basically, here's the new look of Logic Pro X. You'll notice that it's very similar to Logic 9, and this is something that most audio professionals, composers, and musicians were really nervous about actually over the past couple years when we were waiting for an updated version of Logic. Lots of people thought it would go the way of Final Cut X and be much more mom and pop friendly and less professional. But as you see, it's very similar to Logic 9 and previous editions of Logic, and super professional and just overall a great new update. So the first thing you'll notice is the updated graphics, and I really like the graphics. I think they're really clean and really fresh. And like I said in my quick look, I've already opened up Logic 9 and it already looks old-fashioned to me, so I'm already getting used to this new look. So let's go over the top of this bar. You'll first notice that they've moved the transport bar up to the top of the screen instead of on the bottom. This is kind of like Pro Tools, so if you're used to Pro Tools, this will be familiar. If we move, we'll check out these buttons on the top. If we move from left to right, the first one is our library window. This window used to be on the right-hand side of the screen, and now it's on the left. If you feel like it's taking up too much real estate on your screen, it's really easy to open and close. You just get it out of your way, and you've got more room in the Arrange window. So this is where your channel strip settings and your plugin presets and software instruments will show up. I already have noticed a couple glitches or bugs with this library window right now, so I hope they fix that in the near future. And maybe I'll talk about that in this tutorial in a little bit. The inspector will close this window right here on the left hand side. So if you're missing your channel strips and you said, hey, where do those go? They're right here. Next one opens up your toolbar. Again, I don't really use this one that much, actually never. I just use my key commands and my mouse. I never really go up here and press stuff, so I just keep that guy closed. Quick help, if you're new to Logic, this will be helpful. It's this little window on the upper left-hand corner, and if you mouse over anything, it'll give a description of what it does. So that's super helpful for people who are just getting started out. Our next button over is Smart Controls. This opens up a window down here on the bottom of your screen, and this is new to Logic Pro X. This will open up a little control panel with knobs that you can turn for the plugin that you've picked on your instrument track. So let's go ahead and open up something just to demonstrate this real fast, and we'll get more in depth later. So let's just go ahead and pick this synth, the EFM1 synth, and you'll notice it pulls up some basic knobs here. If we change, let's open up our new retro synth. It changes the look of the smart controls to match the plugin, and it'll, as I move the cutoff knob down here, it'll move the cutoff knob up on the filter part of the plugin. So that's really helpful if you don't want to open up your plugin and you just want some quick controls. You can map this to key commands. I've already mapped it to my G key on my keyboard, so I can just open that up real fast. And it does work on third-party plugins, and you can actually assign the controls to different knobs on your third-party plugins really easy. So this is pretty cool actually. Up on the top left again, our next button is our mixer. That can also be toggled with key commands. Mine is on X. And the next one is our edit window. Actually, they call it editor, or it's also called piano roll or whatever. So that can also be toggled with a key command. Mine is W. Up here we have our normal transport type stuff. Don't really have to worry about that. Most people just use spacebar to press play and pause and stuff. And then on the right hand side you have a volume, master volume control. I would not touch this if I were you. I'm afraid that if you move it down or something, that when you go to bounce your track, you would bounce it with the audio too far down and you wouldn't know what's happening. It'd be easy to forget that that got pulled down. So just leave that there. This next button on the right pulls up our different lists. So this is very similar to Logic 9. Our time signature, tempo, marker, and event lists. So you can make changes there. The next button over is a notepad, so you can write notes on the track or the project. The next one over is loops, so this is all your Apple loops. And the next one over is your media browser. There's 3 buttons here to select inside the window. All files will be your browsers, just like in Logic 9. So this is where you can go in and pick tracks or audio files or channel strip settings from previous sessions and import them into the existing session. So that's really useful. Project, this will be your audio bin. And media, this is one new feature in Logic Pro X that I don't really see the point of this guy. This seems a little bit too consumer friendly for me, if I will, and I'm not going to complain about that much, but I just don't see very many audio professionals going into their iTunes library or into their iPhotos or iMovies or anything like that to import something into their Logic session. If you do that, great, but I don't know if I would ever use that. Okay, so now we've got our arrange window and our channel strips on the left hand side. You'll see our channel strips is the dual channel strips, just like in Logic 9 and just like in Logic 9. And I really love this feature. I wish programs like Pro Tools had this feature, but you can see the channel strip that you're working on and then the one where it's routed to. They have changed this up a little bit, so the order of things is a little different, but it works really nicely actually. The first one is your channel strip setting. If you have any preset channel strip settings that you created, or you want to use any from the from Apple or from Logic. The next thing down on the channel strip is Logic EQ. Next one is a new feature called MIDI effects. I'll go over that in a second. Next one down is your instrument on the instrument track here. This button has changed. It has 3 modes now. You don't have to click your keyboard like option or anything to turn a track off. You just simply mouse over and it gives you the 3 options. The first one here is to turn it on and off. The next one brings the plugin up. You only have to click it once. You don't have to do a double click. Single click again to close it. And then the next little section opens up your menu. You can change the instrument. Next is your aux inputs or inserts. Next up is your sends if you want to, say, bring in a reverb on a bus. Then you've got your output, groups, automation mode, panning, fader, mute, and solo, just like any other fader or channel strip. So let's go over, there's one more new thing in our mixer window. I like to turn off this one called master. In fact, on my templates, I turn off MIDI and master, so I can just see my instruments in my session and my output. So you'll see here one more extra slot here on our mixer window, and it's called gain reduction. If you double click on that, it brings up the Logic compressor, and I hope in the future they make this customizable so you can bring up a third-party compressor right there instead of just the Logic one. Okay, so that's pretty similar. Other things here that are new, I guess we can go back here to our MIDI effects. Let's go talk about that for a second. So let's first play in a simple track here on our instrument track. Okay, actually, let's just do actually, let's not record it in. My bad. I'm glad you got to listen to that. However, let's pull up our MIDI effects. Okay, so the first one, this is all new to Logic Pro X, and it's actually pretty useful. So if you want to create an arpeggiator, and say your plugin doesn't have it, or say you're using strings or something, and you want to arpeggiate something really easy, this is super simple. So as I press play, it'll automatically start playing this. If I want to turn it off, I can turn it off right here on this play button. So it just creates an arpeggiated pattern for us. The modes here are up, here's down, down then up, I'm not sure what this one does, let's listen. Whatever. Here's a random, I'm guessing. And here's the order that you played it. Octave range over here. And then they've got these great options here. So say I want to add some, change the note length. I can do it here. And I can randomize that. And then I can randomize velocity. I can also add some swing to it. So let's just make it go up, and let's add a little bit of swing. So there you go. Super easy, and that is the new arpeggiator. So this is all in your MIDI effects on your channel strip. The next one is called Chord Trigger. So if you're like me and you're not the best keyboard player, this actually will play chords for you just by playing one note. And if you want to pick what chords, you can actually just choose which kind of chords you want to play, and it'll play them for you. Alright, next up is Modifier. Let's see what this does. So it looks like this is modifying velocity on some kind of oscillator as I move my mod wheel, as it says. So maybe that's useful if you don't have that on your plugin that you're using and you want to add it here with just MIDI. Another thing you'll notice on all the plugins is this really cool on-off knob. This bypasses it or makes it active. Super easy, nice big button, and pretty graphics. Okay, next up in our MIDI effects, Modulator. So again, it's adding different LFO parameters. Let's check out Note Repeater. So it's kind of like a little delay, but I guess you can just pick it here. You can just have it repeat. Let's see, pick the number of repeats here. Transpose, let's move it up so it's kind of like a delay. Nice graphics though, really smooth graphics. I love the new designs on this version of Logic. Okay, transpose. right, that's cool. And velocity ramp, let's hear it go down in velocity. Or up. And this button here either sets it to your grid or your session tempo, or it does it in milliseconds. I'm guessing you could automate that, which would be really cool. You could do some bouncing ball type effects with that. Okay, next up is randomizer. Let's see what this does. It's doing something, randomizing velocity, I guess. This one I'm not hearing right off the bat. All right, we'll move on. Scripter. Maybe if you want to make your own something, if you're good at scripting stuff. Transposer. All right. And velocity processor. So that is, it's kind of like compression, I guess, but it's changing the velocity of the MIDI notes. What's actually happening behind the scenes, I'm not exactly sure, but that's what it sounds like. Okay, so that's your MIDI effects. Again, if we want to get rid of those, we can click on the right-hand button and just say no plugin. Okay, so now we're going to go through, we'll get rid of all these. We're going to go through the different instruments that come with Logic. Let's first start with the new Drum Kit Designer. You'll notice that it pops up very fast as opposed to some third-party plugins that do the same thing. This pops up very fast. The load time is almost nothing, which is great. So here's what it sounds like. So very nice. Again, great graphics. That actually means a lot to people like me who stare at the screen all day and don't mind looking at some nice pictures while we're composing. So if you want to change the drum kit, you can. You just click here on the preset window. Again, nice and big, bigger menu than on the previous versions of Logic. And you can change the preset kits right here. If you're not seeing all these kits, then that means you haven't downloaded the additional content from Logic. So when you initially download Logic Pro X, it only comes with a limited sound set. The rest of them are free, so don't worry about it. You just have to go up here to your menu, Logic Pro X, and click on Download Additional Content. It'll pop up this window, and it'll show you a little minus sign by the ones you haven't downloaded yet. And on this part, it'll tell you which ones you've already installed. And you can say, oh yeah, I want to download all these drum kits. And I've already done that. So again, you can pick your presets here, or you can open up your library window and your presets are all here. So it's really easy to scroll down. Okay, so there you go. That's Drum Kit Designer. One more thing you can do on this plugin is you can actually click on the drums. Say we like the sound of the Sunset kit overall. We like all the different cymbals and maybe like the everything, but say, you know, I don't like that kick drum. Just click on it and you can swap it out for a couple different options. So say I like number 2. It also gives you some options here on the right hand side. Dampening, gain, and tune. And you can, again, and then you just click on the background and it goes away. You can do that on snare, toms, whatever. So drum kit is really nice, and again, you saw how fast the samples loaded. That's super fun, and a lot faster than some third-party plugins. Okay, let's go down the line here, and you can see all the different plugins that come with Logic Pro X. Next one down the line is the EFM synth. This is a older synth that comes with previous versions of Logic. However, they still threw it in here, and it's almost as if they know that people aren't going to really use these. You'll see there's not too many presets, and it just looks the same as it used to. So it is what it is, but they still include it. Ensemble synth, monophonic synth, polyphonic synth. Let's move our volume down a little bit. Sounds like we're clipping a little. Okay, ES1. A little more in depth. ES2, even more. Vocoder synth. And again, you need a different sound source coming in as well to activate the vocoder. EXS24 sampler. Now, I would like to say that here's where I have found a glitch with the library panel over here. You see, when I pull up the new EXS, it shows all my sampler instruments, including my third-party ones that I've organized in Finder. Here's the factory ones, and here's my own samples. So I can go through, you know, I can say pick some Vengeance samples. Say I want, you know, kick drum. As this loads up here, my hard drive's going to boot up. You'll notice that this works. However, when we duplicate the track, we're going to lose this option. So this does seem like a bug with this first version of Logic Pro. So if anyone has any access to Apple, please do tell them about this bug. I've recreated it multiple times, and I'll show you in a sec. So here we go. There's my sampler instrument. I can pick different kick drums. Now watch as I duplicate the track. This is your duplicate button. New track with duplicate settings. On this track here, it's now reverted to just the factory channel strip settings. You would think that it would let me see my sampler instruments like I want to, or if I click, maybe if I click on the plugin, that it would pop up and nothing pops up, and I can't navigate back to it. So that is rather annoying, but hopefully they'll fix that in an update soon. I can still go through here, and you see my same menus, but I can't do it here from the library window, which I should be able to. Now you'll also see as I delete this track that my original track is now back to that same setting too, and I can't re-navigate to my samples. So hopefully someone will fix that. Let's go ahead and close that and go down the line here. We've got an external instrument plugin, so you can hook up other instruments to your computer. Klopfgeist. Not sure what that is actually. I think it's has to do something with your click track. Could be totally wrong. If you know what it is, don't send me death threats. Okay, next up is the brand new synth, Retro Synth. So this actually has 4 different synth modes, different sounds within the same plugin. So that's pretty cool. Nice graphics again. And lots of effects. So that looks really fun to play with. And again, everything you can change. And again, everything has smart controls as well. And that's kind of why I say it looks like they didn't worry about the old synths, because if you're new to Logic and you don't have third-party synths, I would definitely recommend going straight to Retro Synth, which I might add is probably one of the worst creative names that Apple has come up with, seeing as they normally spend a lot of time in their marketing and creative departments. Retro Synth seems to be a little bit lacking in the name department. But I would definitely go there for sounds rather than these older ones if I were new to Logic. Sculpture is kind of like an older one as well. You can pick what you want your synth to sound like with this knob in the middle here. So you can get really creative sounds with that one, actually. Test oscillator. You don't want to do that unless you want to bug your neighbors if you're playing your music really loud. Ultrabeat is a drum sampler / sequencer. So that's existing with Logic. I'm sure you can find multiple YouTube tutorials on that guy. And they have upgraded their organs and keyboards. So you'll see the really nice graphics here on this vintage B3. All sorts of different settings and presets and knobs for your twiddling pleasure. Vintage clav is next. Check out these graphics. You can actually drag the pickup where you want it to be. Not only can you drag the whole thing, but you can drag the angle of it. How cool is that? So again, lots of really nice what was I gonna say? User interface here. Stereo spread, etc., etc. So that's a fun one. And then one more, vintage electric piano. This is new as well, or revamped. Let's check out some of the presets here. Let's open up our library window. Yeah, so it still works here. It just seems with EXS it's buggy. And then again, smart controls should match the look here. You'll see it looks just like the plugin. If it doesn't, go ahead and click on the inspector button here and set your look to automatic smart controls. So it changes according to your plugin. So again, you can kind of control stuff down here if you want. So there you go. Close our library window again, and that is all the instruments that come with the new version of Logic. Another thing that you will definitely want to check out with the new version of Logic is, let me close those. They've got something new called track stacks. So basically, I'll show you briefly. I've done a whole new tutorial on it, on track stacks, which I suggest you go to instead. But basically, you go here to track and create track stack. So go ahead over, I'll put a link up right now on my video. Click on that, and that'll take you to my track stack tutorial. It's really brief, and it'll give a quick overview on how to do track stacks. Basically, that's a new name for aux tracks, and it's actually really useful though. It's really nice. Okay, next thing we need to look at, if we go to track, new track, they've got this thing called Drummer. So actually, I don't need to go over audio. That's just pulling in a new audio track. Drummer, this is new. So let's go click on it, click create. What this is going to do is it's going to pull up a MIDI file that's basically a MIDI drum loop. And then down here, let's see if this has a window name. I don't see that it does. So this brings up your drummer window, I guess we'll call it. And I'm just going to go ahead and press play so you can hear what's happening. So it brings up a MIDI track and samples. You can go ahead and pick what style of music. Let's pick alternative. Then you can pick your artist style. It says you'll lose your changes. Go ahead and change it, sure. And then you have presets are basically your sound and your MIDI drum loop. So let's hear what this sounds like. So it's actually pretty helpful if you want to pull in some quick break beats or something. It's actually, if you look on your channel strip, it's pulled in drum kit for this. So you can still go in and edit your drum kit that you want. Then it's pulled in a couple other plugins as well. Multi-pressor, multi-band compressor, channel EQ, which actually has no settings on it, but it gets it all ready for you. Then you can change the sound of it here with this nice little XY area. You can just drag this around. And those do reset once you go back to the original factory settings. You can increase the number of fills over here on the right. That's really cool, actually. And then you can adjust the swing as well. I will, however, say that it seems like these changes go into effect after you pause it and press play again. It doesn't seem to do it on the fly. Now, here's one thing that I can't figure out about this is, say we want to go edit our MIDI. On mine, it's... so you can't edit the MIDI from there. But let's do this. Let's do a new instrument track. And say I want to try this same sound but with a different drum kit. So I want to pull in a new drum kit designer, and let's say I want this to be Detroit Garage Kit. So I can pull this down and watch what happens. It turns into a MIDI track. I can pull it back up. It stays a MIDI track, but the sound is different. And now in our piano roll, we can see the different MIDI notes. So then you can adjust those accordingly and stuff. However, yeah, on this track that we've created from drum kit, you can't see your drummer settings. So if you want to stick with drummer, you got to stay up here. Oh, now look at that. I go back to my drummer track and I don't know how to go back to my drummer window that we called it to pick our player and etc, etc. So if anyone figures that out, let me know, but right now that seems a little bit buggy too. Okay, so let's see if there's any new effects we need to talk about. Let's go back up here to our Wurlitzer. Our audio effects, we haven't talked about those. So one of the new audio effects that comes with Logic Pro X is our bass amp designer. So it's very much like our amp designer, guitar amp designer, but it's meant for basses, bass guitars and bass sounds. This might not be the best instrument. Let's pull up our retro synth here again. I know it's not a bass guitar, but we can still play in some bass notes. Okay, now over here on Bass Amp Designer, let's turn it off first. So that's the raw sound. And turn it back on. And we can try some different bass amps. And you can move your mic around. Oh, can you? Yeah, you can move your mic around right here. You can change what type of mic. And let's open up our library here. Let's see. Click on. Okay, so this is what happens if you want to go to your bass amp presets. You move this little arrow here on your channel strip, and it will select that plugin you're working on. So that's really cool. In fact, let's test out the EXS buggy thing on this too. So I needed to create a new EXS. We can get rid of this. Okay, so far so good. It pulls up our instruments here. Again, let's just go to Vengeance, some dubstep samples. We're just going to try to recreate that and see if it's our arrow issue right here, if that's going to fix the problem or not. Hopefully we fixed it all in this tutorial, and then I'm sorry for bugging you about it. But let's just double check here real fast. Let's let this load here. While this is loading, I will say please do subscribe to my channel for more tutorials, and you can also find me on Twitter at Nickmer and Facebook at Nick Murray Music. Okay, so we're good to go. Now we're going to duplicate this track, and we don't see those here. Maybe that's because this is on channel strip settings. So let's go down here, and there it is. Problem solved, everyone. Again, sorry to scare you about it beforehand, but we have fixed it. So if you know anybody at Apple, you don't need to give them a call. You just have to move your mouse over these different sections, and this will bring up your different library presets. So if you do want channel strip settings, that's where you go. If you want presets for EXS, you move right there and click. So again, I guess we just figured out something new. Okay, cool. So we're good. Let's see if there's any other new audio effects. Normal delays that all come with Logic, distortion, dynamics, EQ, filter. These all look like they are existing plugins. So if you're familiar with Logic, you should know all of these already. What's speech enhancer? Is that enhancing my speech? Nope. Let's check out, is sub bass existing? Yeah, I think that exists as well. Okay, so I think those are all existing effects. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is Logic Pro X or Logic 10. Again, this is just a pretty basic walkthrough here. I already have done a tutorial on stack tracks, so make sure to check that out if you want to learn more about that in depth. And I'll see you guys around. Make sure to come find me on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot, everyone.